welcome back to Rita's Delicious Dishes. I'm hoping that you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We certainly had a lovely one here. There were only 5 of us, which I'm not used to 5 because I come from a family of 12, but as the years go on, we've winded down to 5, but we had a lovely day. And before I forget, I want to make sure I wish you all a very happy holiday season, because I'm liable to forget that after my little cooking adventure here. So today we're going to be making something for wintertime, and it's called zucchini stew. And I've made this many times, and I've given the recipe to many people, and they have truly enjoyed it. So I thought I'd make it for everyone today. So it's really very simple. It does have all vegetables. There is no protein in here, but you certainly can throw any kind of protein in, chicken or pork tenderloin, or things you just have left over. A little beef would work fine in here. But for today, I'm going to make it a vegetable stew. And for people who are vegans, you can just switch out the chicken broth to vegetable broth, and then it becomes a complete vegan dish for those of you that are vegans. I'm finding a lot of people that are vegetarians and vegans lately, so it can be easily changed over for those of you that have that preference for your stew. So we're going to start with, I have a frying pan, my large frying pan with a couple 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I have a separate pot going with the broth. Now, in the recipe, it tells you to saute your vegetables in the olive oil in your pot, but I decided to do it a little differently today just for the show purposes. So I'm going to I wanted to have my broth ready because it takes a while for broth to come to a nice hot boil. So I have it all ready, and I'm going to saute the vegetables in the fry pan, and then I'm going to transfer them into the broth as we go along. So I'm going to start with these 3 carrots, and by the way, these are organic carrots, so I did not peel them. I just washed them nice and clean because there's a lot of nutrients in the carrot itself, the carrot skin itself, and just under the skin. So when you peel them, you do take that away. But as far as I know, if they are not organic, you should probably peel them or wash them really well under hot water, because pesticides do have a tendency to get below the skin surface, and you can be ingesting those. So I suggest if it's not an organic carrot, then just peel it so you're on the safe side. But if it's organic, don't lose the nutrients by peeling them. So we're going to start with the carrots, and we're going to make them rather bite-sized pieces. I'm going to put my glasses on so I don't cut my fingers. And not really big sizes, so they don't, you want to try and get everything to cook at the same time. So I cut them fairly small, so you can just pick them up in the spoonful and eat them without feeling these big chunks of things in your mouth. So we're going to make it nice and small pieces. I don't know if you can see that. I think I might be hiding some things. So there's one. I'm going to do 3 carrots. I did cut them right down the middle to make them a little more bite-sized and enjoyable. So you can do that, or you can slice them as they are, but very, very thin. It's up to you, any way you like. Just watch your fingers. So I'm going to put those in the fry pan, and I'll continue with the others. Turn the heat up a bit. We'll finish the last carrot, and then we'll move on to the celery. I did chop the onions this morning because onions make my eyes tear up badly, so I thought I would save everybody from seeing me cry, and made them ahead of time, cut them ahead of time. It also helps in the timing of the cooking. Okay, so there's the 3 carrots. In the celery, I kind of saved, knowing I was doing the show today, I saved the center of my celery hearts, because these leaves are actually what you're looking to put into the stew. They have a little more flavor than the stalk itself, and they're very tender, and they're very nice to put in a soup or a stew. So I'm just going to chop up, it's about three celery stalks, or 2 or 3. They're very tender, so they're going to go right in the pan with the carrots. The thing I'm going to put in the pan last to saute is the garlic, because the garlic wants to cook really quickly and wants to char. So I'm going to throw the onions in that are all chopped. So we get a nice abundance of wonderful vegetables here. And I did not chop the garlic. I did clean it, and I just wanted to tell you guys, there's a little nub on the end of your garlic clove. I always trim that off because it does have a little toughness to it. It's really actually very hard. And believe it or not, when I'm eating, I can actually pick up on that little thing in my garlic, so I don't leave it on there. And then I just make a couple of cuts through the garlic and then just chop it. It doesn't have to be tiny, tiny. I do get it fairly minced. I personally love garlic. And there's basically 3 cloves in here. There are a couple of little ones, so I just count those as 1. So I wouldn't put more than 3 cloves because it will overpower the stew, and we don't want that. We would just want it to be a little tasty in the background. And if you all have problems getting a smell of garlic off your hands, I just take a fresh lemon and I squeeze some fresh lemon juice in my hands, and then I wash it with soap and water, and the garlic odor is gone. And as well as onions. Sometimes I get an onion smell sticking to my hands, and I'm like, God, midday I'm smelling what I made for lunch. It's not a pleasant thing. So I just always try and remember to wash my hands with some fresh lemon, and then soap and water. So there's my garlic. I'm going to get my little spoon out here. Move this around a little bit. And if you really don't have enough oil, instead of adding more oil, sometimes 3 tablespoons doesn't seem to be enough for me to get these softened up. So instead of adding more oil, which adds more fat to the dish, I don't want to do that. I want to keep the calories fairly low, but make the food still delicious, which can be done, believe it or not. So I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth from my pot into the fry pan to help these guys along with softening up. It's all going to go back in the pot anyway, so and turn the heat up just to about medium. We'll get those softened up. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes or so. I actually like my vegetables in my soup a little on the crunchy side. I don't like mushy vegetables. I'd rather have them a little crisp. Not raw, but you know, with a little crunch to them when you chew them. So we'll start that. Get that a little hotter. Chop my garlic up just a little bit more. And the pepper that we're going to use is going to be a sweet pepper, because green pepper is very powerful. And green pepper has a tendency to take over the flavor of everything. And we don't want that. We want just all these flavors to blend together and not for one of them to be dominant over the other. You just want to be able to kind of taste everything and enjoy every piece of vegetable that's in there, as opposed to just tasting one over them all, which is what happens with green pepper. So I don't recommend using a green pepper, a sweet pepper, whether you use an orange one or a red one or a yellow one, it doesn't matter. I just happen to have orange this morning, so I'm using an orange sweet pepper. Red might have been even prettier because I have orange carrots, but you guys can do that when I'm going to use another piece of pepper because I want about all the same vegetables in there, the same amounts. Just cut them up in bite-sized pieces. Oop, we got a little stray piece of garlic. Oh, it's smelling delicious. Just I can smell everything. I can smell the onions, I can smell the garlic, I can smell the pepper. Nice. I'm going to add a little more broth. This is just a little trick to save calories that I've learned through the years, which most of us can usually use help with, is keeping the calories low, but keeping the dish delicious, which is my main goal. I am going to throw the last little pepper in there. Why not? It's not going to hurt the dish at all because it's a sweet, gentle pepper, mild. There. Oh, I eat peppers raw with hummus. I just love them. Only the sweet ones, though. I don't even eat green peppers. I almost never eat green peppers in this house. My other half does not like green peppers either, so we're in sync with each other with that. So everything's starting to get a little soft and tender, which is just where I'm wanting it. I'm going to leave it be for a little bit and just tell you a little more about what's going into the pan. So we have used all our vegetables. The remaining things that are going into the pan are a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I like fire roasted tomatoes because they have more flavor, because they're fire roasted as opposed to be just chopped up and put into the can. And one 8-ounce can of tomato sauce is what's going in the pot when we're ready. And of course the zucchini, because it's zucchini stew. So I'm going to get the zucchini ready while this is coming together. And then I'm going to put everything in the pot and give it another few minutes to blend all those flavors together. And then the final part is the part I love the best. I'm going to get my parsley out of the fridge, because this is going, the very, very last thing we're going to do is put some parsley in the plate, in the pot. And I do need to give it a wash, so I'll leave it over here. So while that's simmering and sauteing a little bit and coming together, we'll chop up the zucchini. The zucchini are going directly into the pot. They're not going into the fry pan. So I cut them in half, and then I cut them in half again. So we get that nice size to them. These are beautiful zucchini. I don't know how many of you live in Marshfield, but I do buy a lot of my produce from Haymarket South. And I go midday when they have cleaned out their bins and put all their fresh produce out. And I have lots of luck there. The prices are right, and the produce itself is really nice and fresh. He does travel to Boston every morning, I believe, to get his produce. But truly, I go there for two things: because of the price and because they're really fresh. I mean, look at these, they're beautiful, just beautiful. This is the size of zucchini that you're looking for. It's about a medium size. Large zucchini are not worth using because they have lots of seeds in them, and you don't want that. You want a zucchini that's more meat than seeds. So just cut them right down the middle, and then down the middle again. I can hear things happening over here. I think I'll give them another little stir. I don't know if you can see that, but they're starting to, everything's starting to wilt down and come together beautifully. There. This is such a quick little stew actually. It can't be called a soup because it's really thick and chunky, just like a beef stew, only vegetables. I like zucchini any way they make it, stuff it, steam it, stir fry it, love it. And it's really a low-cal vegetable, and it's really good for you. And some people take the skin off their zucchini. I'm not sure why, but that is not really how zucchini is supposed to be eaten. You're supposed to leave the skin on. Like most things, there's lots of nutrients in the skin. I just found out a while ago that the apple of the skin of the apple has so many nutrients, and many people peel the skin off for some reason. I know when my mom was older, she had a hard time chewing the skin of the apple, so she used to ask me to clean the apple for her, and I still remember that to this day, because I think to myself, all I did was take the nutrients out of the apple, but she couldn't chew it otherwise. So, but I never, ever, ever peel an apple unless it's called for that in a salad or something, or in some dish. I'll do it if they ask for it, but otherwise I don't ever take the skin off an apple, or zucchini. Ever. Vegetables are so good for us, you guys. So, so good for us. Okay, these are all ready to go into the big pot. I'm going to try to do this without splashing myself. Beautiful. I think even people who aren't vegetable lovers would love this kind of stew. I really do. It's quite delicious. I think I'm going to actually enter this into a soup contest. I know it's a stew, but I'm going to call it a soup for that day. Which might be cheating a little, but I think they'll all be fine with it. So I'm going to switch it over to the big burner. Turn it back on. We're going to bring it to a little bit of a boil, not a screaming boil. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we're going to finish this off with freshly grated either Parmesan or Romano. It's entirely up to you, but you want a nice hard Italian cheese. Asiago will work as well. It's not as hot as the others, but it's got a great flavor. So you really want a cheese that's got some real taste to it. Because the milder the cheese, the milder the finished product. So I actually use Romano most of the time because Parmesan is $17.99 a pound, and that's just a lot of money for me, so I can get Romano at $8.99 a pound, and it tastes just as good. So, this, excuse me, this is freshly grated Romano that I did this morning for us. I have a Xylus grater. I suggest that you all get a nice big Ziploc bag, buy yourself a piece of cheese, and a Xylus grater or some kind of fresh cheese grater, and stick it in the bag, and whenever you need cheese, just take the bag out of the fridge, use it up, and put it back. I keep it in the same place in my fridge so both of us can find it when we need it. So it's really, really important that you use fresh cheese. Just know that as soon as the cheese is grated off a block and put into a container and sold to you at the supermarket, all the time it's in that package, it's losing its flavor because it's taken away from the block itself. So you want to get it fresh from the block when you're going to need it. So now I can drop the zucchini right in this beautiful pot. with all the rest of the veggies. Give it a stir. Oh yeah. It just even looks like it's going to be good for you. You know, it's just wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to bring that to a boil. I'm going to put the tomatoes in now and stir that all around. And zucchini doesn't take all that long to cook, so that's why it goes in last. And the tomatoes just give it a beautiful flavor and actually gives it a beautiful color. If you want to speed up the time of your soup cooking, you can for sure put the lid on, which I have right here. And that will just get it to boil a little bit more. In the meantime, I'm going to do my parsley. Just give a nice little rinse. Ooh. Get some of the water out. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of those. Oops, a couple of wilted ones. Pull those out. Okay. So I'm just going to chop up the parsley. And you're going to hold off on the parsley till you're just ready to serve it. And then you're going to put it in the pot, ladle it into some bowls, and then top it with your beautiful grated Parmesan or Romano, whatever you've chosen to use. So I'm going to leave that there. You actually can use as much parsley as you like, because parsley is a very mild flavored herb, and it does have a lovely flavor, but it is not very strong. So if it's at a half a cup and you use 3/4 of a cup, excuse me, it would not matter. Excuse me. I have a little frog in my throat this morning. So I'll just wait a couple of seconds for the soup to come to a boil and those zucchinis to start to get tender. I'm going to give it a little pepper. I'm not going to add any salt. I have a coarse ground pepper that I like to use, and I keep it on the back side of my stove, so it's very handy. But I will tell you, the other day I was making a pasta sauce, and I had one that was about half full, and I took the cap off and went like this, and the whole sprinkle one, the pot that lets you put a little bit, fell off, and the whole pile of pepper went into my pot of pasta sauce. I thought I would die. So I got my spoon, and I scraped every bit of it out and threw it all away. Started with a fresh one. And now I will make sure that this top is secure every time I go to use it, because I'm not sure how it fell off, but it did. So a couple of good shakes of some pepper in there. No salt, because the broth is not low sodium. It is, in fact, regular broth that I think I have shown you this before. Let me just rinse it off. I just finished this little carton today using it for the soup. It is, and the only place I can find it is in BJ's. It is $8 a pound jar. It's called Minor's Chicken Base. It's made by the Nestle company. It is without a doubt the most delicious broth that you can use to make soups or gravies. I used it on Thanksgiving Day. I used a turkey gravy and turkey juices, and added some of this because I needed a lot of gravy, because my guys were all big gravy eaters. So it was absolutely delicious, and people were raving about the gravy, and this was part of it. This Minor's chicken. It's called Minor's Chicken Base. So, and it makes a lot of broth for $8, because broth can be kind of pricey when you go to buy it in the store. So I like to use all the things that are giving me a great taste, but for minimal amount of money, because food is expensive. It's the second, I think probably it's listed as the second most expensive thing in the American household today. So if we can cut some corners with price and still get the product that's really delicious, then why not? Just like why I shop at Haymarket South. So I can get really good vegetables at a really good price. And they're really good people, truly. It's a family-owned business. There's another one, I think, in Westwood or Norwood somewhere, which I used to visit when I was working on the road and buy my vegetables. And I used to bring a cooler. I was such a nut about getting fresh vegetables before we had the one here in Marshfield. But now I go to this one only, and I'm very happy. All right, I'm going to get my bowl ready. The prettier the bowl, the prettier the food sometimes. Although sometimes I think just using white plates really, really let food show and shine rather than having a real decorative plate. But when it comes to a stew, I think we're okay. So this is coming along. We'll put it up to high. Probably has a couple more minutes. So I'm trying to decide what I'm going to have for Christmas dinner. I'm having a few people over, and being Greek, I think I'm going to do lamb only. Some people like to make lamb and ham and all kinds of things. I just like to keep the protein source as one and then make a complete Greek meal with that. So I'm going to do lamb with oven roasted brown potatoes, which is traditional of the Greek meal on any holiday, especially Easter, but I do it for Christmas and Easter. And I'm going to make a spinach pie, which I would love to make for all of you, but it takes like 2 hours to make it, so it's not possible. But I am thinking about making something called chicken with white wine and cinnamon, which is about an hour. It's an hour time to cook, but I'm going to make a small batch and show you how to put it together, and then show you the batch that's already finished when it comes out of the oven, because it's impossible for me to do it in 20 minutes or half an hour, which I like to keep them at that, but I'm thinking, you know what, there's so many wonderful things that I make that take maybe an hour, but they're so delicious that it's worth it. So we're going to step up a little bit and change our little quick cooking to a little longer cook time, but things that you can't do it otherwise. And I think it's would be very nice for you all to have these recipes and be able to enjoy them as I do with lots of my friends. So this is coming along great. I can feel the zucchini starting to soften as I stir. So it's another few more minutes and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I think our soup is just about there. I'm going to throw the parsley in now and get that all nice and stirred up. And then I'm going to put some in my bowl and finish up our stew. Hopefully you're all gonna love this. It is wonderful and it's beautifully colorful. Truly, it's a wonderful, wonderful stew to eat, and it's really, really so good for you. It's not just about how beautiful it is and how beautiful it tastes. It's truly about the healthiness of the soup for me most of the time. So I try and do it all the healthiest things I can. So it is truly done. We'll shut it off. You don't even need for the parsley to cook or anything. As soon as it hits that hot broth, it's going to do what it needs to do and release its flavors. So I'm going to ladle some in a bowl. Oh, it's so pretty. I love colorful food. Here we go. You can put as much cheese as you like. I try and keep it, not too much, because you don't want to taste just all cheese, but a teaspoon and a half would be just fine. And once again, we don't need any salt, maybe just a little pepper on the top, because I love it. And I'm going to do the taste test. Oh, oh, the cheese really makes it. Without the cheese, I mean, it's good, but it's great with the cheese. And I'm a cheese girl. Oh, absolutely perfect. I hope you all try this recipe and enjoy it as much as we do. And again, happy holidays, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us.